There is a movement promoting our stories, and many of us grew up with a strong craving for images we can relate to. Production teams, writers, creative heads have come together to tell stories, and this podcast is their voice. The themes covered are very relevant to the Black community, and anyone concerned by the social and racial injustices that are in place to stifle this voice. The Pan-African voice is not easily heard, and here we talk about our movies, that film or doc which you heard about but didn't get to see. What was the story? Where can I watch it? It now has a voice. Tune in. We walk you through these stories and interview the filmmakers. Welcome. Karibu sana. Karibu sana.
And starting right on the lens. Ready, and action.
Today, we are so excited to host you on the Pan-African Film Podcast to talk about your beautiful film, which was entitled The Best Time. It's a short film. And it's very much a postpartum story, right? So it's very much about the post-birthing experience. But I want to say it's actually a film for both genders, right? It's not
Absolutely.
it's not just that woman's story about,
Right.
oh my goodness, you carry this baby and then all this body stuff happens to you, or it's like beyond the biological experience, right? It's what happens after you have this live being and you've gone through the process. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you as a mother, obviously, not just as a host, because obviously it's something that really should be spoken about. I think especially the first time, right? The first time you become a mother, there's just so many emotions, so many expectations that are kind of all blended in with the hormones and then mixed in with cultural heritage expectations and then blended in with the fact that you may be or may not be married or living with a whole other person who is just as entitled to your child as you, because it's also someone you have to share, right?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we just said a lot right there.
it was a lot, but you decided to capture the best time. Like literally everyone tells you becoming a mother is supposed to be that best time, and you captured
Yeah.
it in a short film. Tell me, or tell us and the audience at Pan African Film Podcast why it was important for you to tell this story, and why you're the best person to tell it.
Well, I'm the best person to tell it because I am a mom, like you said. I am a mama too, little boys. But like you said, that first birth, no one talks about. Like you're like, why didn't anyone say this? And why didn't anyone tell me that? So, for me personally, I remember I had a difficult time. It was months later after I had my son. I had a little bit of a traumatic birth, NICU experience, all of that. And I remember like really struggling mentally. And I think it was finally, I was in survival mode for so long, going to the hospital. I wasn't really thinking of myself. And then when I could finally sort of relax, once he was home and I got the routine down, and now we're talking about 6 months out, I remember maybe about 4 to 6 months out, I remember feeling like, oh my goodness, like I would just feel this sense of sadness. I felt very connected to my son, but I remember feeling like, something I just feel off. I don't feel like myself. And so I have a few close friends that already had kids. And I was like, hey, I'm sending a text. I'm in California, by the way, and they're all on the East Coast. Hey, did you feel X, Y, and Z? And they're like, oh, yeah. I struggled with like some mental health stuff. And I'm like, what? And then like a couple of them are saying the same things. I'm like, well, oh, how come you didn't tell me this? We're like close friends. And one thing that kept coming up was shame. It was like you felt ashamed of like admitting it, or that you even felt like I'm struggling a little bit, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm having thoughts that I know they're not my thoughts of like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore, or anything like that. And so I remember thinking like, all right, once they told me that, that helped so much, because then it was not that I was fine right away, but I was like, oh, okay, this is something that's common. I'll get through it. but when I didn't know that it was common, I was scared that I was having those thoughts. And so I told myself, I gotta write this story. I gotta write. And it's not any one specific story, but it's all little tidbits from people and different moms I know and things I created. But I was like, I have to tell a story of a woman, specifically a Black woman, who is struggling with her mental health post baby and really don't know how to articulate that because she doesn't quite know what's going on with herself.
Mm.
And for me, I was like, I have to tell this story because I want to free more women, or I want more women to be like, I remember feeling that way. And I definitely felt like I did that. I've had so many people like come to me, their kids are grown, like 30s, 40s. Oh man, I remembered I struggled with that. Or I didn't know. I think that's what I had. I had postpartum. And I'm like, oh, and so I just really wanted to create that space for women, especially Black women with us. We have to be so strong for everyone. I'm like, we're human too. And so, and that was the whole point of this story.
Yeah. I think it was I think obviously very authentic in how you put it together. And thank you, for bringing awareness or shedding a light to the situation, because I think you really reflected how um, lonely the process can feel, and just how little conversation there is around it, but also how just identifying or naming what's going on with you, because it's the confusion more that makes you,
Right.
it adds on to like the uncertainties and
Yeah.
self-doubt. So once you identify it somehow, it's just so I know how it sounds crazy and silly, but you're like, oh, that's what I had. Because sometimes it might not be postpartum, it's just like kind of handling the whole situation, and
Right.
you can't really always figure out quite everything. Although I have met some moms who really have all their ducks lined up. Where like, there's always going to be like one ball on the floor at one point, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, everyone's got kind of different limits and boundaries as to what they can tolerate. And so it's really a time of self exploration while you're also having to care for a whole new being, right? Because
Right.
so it's important. And why do you think there is so little conversation around this kind of topic? And why do you think so much shame and weight around it in our community?
I think unfortunately, like our mothers and grandmothers and our ancestors, they didn't have the luxury of saying, I feel this way. They had so many more hardships. And um, I feel like I'm a millennial, but I feel like the millennials are like, uh, kind of open the door for a lot of things. And we're like, hold on, we're, doing the therapy and all of that. And therapy was around before us, but I just feel like even my mama, I spoke with her, like, she's like, I don't know if I had it or not. But I don't think they, like you said, they didn't know to name it. I think they just kept going. But I
Mm,
feel like they kept going with like, they just had to like work through it and have this hardship and kind of like this little bit of cloud over them. They just kept going, but were they like feeling vibrant all the time and like their best selves? No, and I don't think they had the language to even name um what they were feeling or what was going on because they didn't have the space to do that. I feel like only recently we've been able to be like, hey, like I'm not feeling okay in this moment, but I feel like it's still within our community like, oh, that's postpartum is not real. I've heard people say that. I've heard people say, oh, that's just because they didn't have a good partners. I'm like, no, that's not true. You have a partner that helps you and that's great and amazing. You still have these feelings or you still, having that imbalance or whatever. So I feel like there's a lot of little nuances. I think one, we've just seen our ancestors, our mothers, grandmothers just work so hard and not being able to express themselves in the way of, I don't even remember seeing my grandmother cry. like I'm just thinking of like how they've had to be. They didn't have that luxury that we are, and maybe to some people we sound like we're whining. But I think that for and I know that's not true because I know for the women who did not have the option to say like, oh, I'm feeling this way and that shame, there are older women who have come to me and it's like, thank you for making this film. I'm talking about now like 70s. And so I know it's something that's important and I know it's something they experience, but like you said, they didn't even know what it was and they didn't even have the space to vocalize that.
Yeah. So that can be really liberating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and is that what you really wanted to do with this film, is kind of liberate the topic, kind of throw it out there? What
Yeah.
kind of traction has it gained out there? What were your objectives with it?
Um, so objectively, I was like, I'm a writer first, and I've been writing. And so I was like, I know this story is important and I want to help other women. So let me show my writing and me as a filmmaker. And then also, I want to have it in spaces to where it's used as a tool to really educate. So I am happy and blessed that it's doing that, since I've made the film. And so yeah, that was the intention. Because at first, I think I always thought of it in like two different lanes. Like, yes, I'm a filmmaker, but this is beyond just filmmaking as well.
Yeah, and you were mentioning, I mean, when we were speaking earlier, that it's also kind of ties into your kind of, I guess, day job, like what you do every day, even is still related to kind of you dealing with postpartum, I guess, clients on a daily
Yeah,
basis as well. Is that right? Could you tell us more about
that's
that?
right. So I know it's just like so I'm a physical therapist, but I specialize in pelvic health. So I see a lot of pregnant and postpartum moms. I've been doing this specialty for the last few years, and I started my own practice called Sacral Pelvic Wellness here in the Bay Area. And so a lot of like I treat other diagnoses, and not everyone is a mom, but that's who's been gravitating towards my practice. But I'm seeing people postpartum 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out, and this film is very much all different races. I see all different partnerships, and it's the kind of a common thread of like just motherhood, that motherhood initiation of, like you said, the loneliness at first, and not lonely that they don't have the support, but sometimes you feel like you're the only one going through it, even though there are other women that have gone through it, and you have that support around you. And so, you can see the pelvises back here. I'm lucky to like still empower women, even in my practice, as well as I've done with this film, and kind of provide that freedom of them feeling seen when they're so fresh postpartum.
Right. Yeah, and that's good to create those spaces. Yeah. How long could you tell us like about the actual putting the film together and like the process? How long did it take? Like how is it your first time, and how was it like it's kind of written as I wouldn't say it's not a documentary, right? It's
Mm-mm.
written, and that's what I love. Like you went for the short film fiction style, even though you drew from personal experiences. Is that right?
Yes, it's not a documentary. It is a drama narrative short film, and I, like you said, drew from different experiences from other women's stories and just emotions I may have felt postpartum in other people, and just like put it together. And I just wanted it to be an authentic story that felt real. And so the whole process, it didn't take too long writing it, but then it was the process of writing and then finding casting. And this is my first film. So I've written
Okay.
other things. And that's why I moved to California, because I was a writer. It's like, well, I mean, I need to kind of be in like, I have friends in LA. Um, and I came out here to do that. And then, life happens. And then you're like, well, let's do it. Let's get into this. So I'm gonna write this short, which is important, and I'm gonna make it myself because I feel like as a writer, you can write all day, but
Mhm.
if no one sees it, they don't know that you're a writer. And so that's kind of how. And so it was new for me, like from casting to directing. It's my first time directing. Um, and I'm really proud of myself. Like, I just feel like, of course, there's always room to grow, but people always say, "Oh, what film school did you go to?" I'm like, "Oh, the School of Life, the school,
Yeah.
School of Life,
No,
Life and Master class."
yeah.
Yeah,
Hearing the journey, you
right.
did a great job. It's very pleasant.
I know the move is tough. It'll be worth it. I promise.
I'll be out in a second, honey.
I feel overwhelmed.
Babe, look.
This is becoming a lot.
I can do this. I can. How are you doing? Good. Mommy duties. I heard it's the best time.
Well, like I was saying earlier, like I feel like our communities are affected in particular, number one, because we just fall through the cracks. Postpartum, birth, there's the birth rates for Black women anyway, they're not well. We're dying at a higher rate. Then there's the postpartum. So I just felt like overall, this is a very important topic for our community. And then I felt like it doesn't matter whether you are, and we had this discussion, if you are in America or if you are in Africa or you're in other parts of the country, every woman, if they went through motherhood, they may not have had postpartum, but there's parts of the story that you could relate to of like, oh, I remember that, or oh, I know that feeling. It's not all like postpartum. It's just a universal of that initiation of being a mom that anybody can relate to watching the film who is a mom or know someone that's a mom, and even the fathers that watch the film. I feel like they could relate to it and then see themselves in a way of like, oh, or see like, how could he have handled that differently, like with this character? And so I just feel like overall this film, it just keeps going across like different. It doesn't matter like within our community, it's within any community. Like I just feel like it is such a universal film on postpartum, and I feel like it's very authentic. And I think that's the key thing. I don't see a lot of like authentic films. I think a lot of times on postpartum there are some, but I never know like if they are from like parents, Sometimes it's people making them that are not, and you could feel that because it come across differently.
Mm.
But I think for me, it's like I've experienced what it feels like to feel like the world keeps going on, and then you're at home with the baby. There's a part of you like, oh, like I have clients all the time that say, I just got off Instagram. I can't look at it right now, postpartum. It like makes them feel a certain way because they are in this whole other world, and they're like, I got off social media. So there's a lot of little nuances in the film, and until you experience motherhood, you'll get. Yeah. So that's why I feel like it's universal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hadn't thought of that actually. I guess because I'm not quite, I think I'm still on the cusp of generation. So like social media is probably amplified like so many times, like 10, something that was probably smaller for our generations is
Hmm.
like 10 times bigger because your communities are just like you've got bubbles of virtual communities, I feel, as
Hmm.
millennials that we just don't have. Like it's just like a whole layer off our chest, I feel. But yeah, that must be so much worse. Like, yeah, having to
Yeah.
actually get off the social media as well. Yeah. This is the Pan-African Film Podcast. So what does Pan-Africanism mean to you? Maybe share more about your personal story, like where you moved from into the
Oh,
Bay
okay.
Area and
Hmm.
your roots or whatever you want to share.
Okay. Well, I was born in North Carolina. I'm a Marine brat, so I moved around a lot. My family, they are from Alabama, and a lot, then they migrated up to, but there's still a lot of family in Alabama, upstate New York, Buffalo. I moved around, and right before I moved to um, the Bay Area, I was living in Ohio. I went to college, to high school college in Ohio, and then I moved here to the Bay Area. So that's as far as like where I'm from. My both of my parents are, my mom was born in Buffalo, my dad Cleveland, Ohio, but their grandparents are from the South, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Alabama. So a lot of my roots are in the southern states. I lived in the South as well, Georgia, South Carolina, and now, like I said, I was born in North Carolina. So I just say I'm from everywhere because I'm really all over the place. So when I was younger, I went to like living in the South. I lived in Beaufort, so there were a lot of African, even culture, like the Gullah and Geechee in that area. And so for me, it means learning about like Africa. Like I feel like where I know, because I've done some, I don't remember everywhere, but genealogy on like where I'm from and learning the history and culture of Africa and how then it was brought here in America. And so living in like even the dialect in that area is different. I don't know if I think you did South Carolina and Charleston, but it's a whole different dialect. And so for me, knowing I went to Robert Small's middle school, who like killed with the took over the slave ship and you know what I mean? And so that stuff's important and knowing like, oh, but he was brought over, and this the culture of really the roots of Africa and how it has impacted us in America in keeping it going. Because I feel like we know like people like, oh, we know we come from our ancestors from Africa. People just say that, right? But there's been influences, like I said, from living in South Carolina, you get, then also like how can we bring it back and bridge it together? Because I feel like it can be separated, like Africa and African American, but I feel like we're still very much connected if we really pay attention. Like for me, that's how I feel, and so that's what the Pan Africanism mean to me. Like really learning and understanding that a lot of things we do is truly from like our roots in Africa and and staying connected to that.
Right. Wow. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
that
like
was
you were
so,
lost of words.
yes, you just, I mean, I think maybe just, I don't know, I guess that's why we really connected. We met in Atlanta, and
Hmm.
you really are like quite just Pan-African in. But I just think it's just great that you went straight to the Gullah and South Carolina area because really, I don't know if we got a chance to speak about it, but we have a retreat that we're promoting for screenwriters. I think I mentioned it, and the pilot was right there in St. Helena Island, which was hosted at the Penn Center. It was the first school for freed slaves down there.
Mm.
And there's a big museum for Robert Smalls. There's just like a lot of
Mm.
Gullah culture. There's a Gullah
Yeah.
festival down there. We're always in touch with our friends at the Penn Center. And it's definitely a source of inspiration for a lot I found for a lot of African American authors. In fact, at the event where I met you, I reconnected with somebody who happened to be there while we were doing the retreat, researching
Wow.
for his script. And he was at that event. I don't know if you saw me like talking to this guy the whole night, but like he was there just researching. And even
Hmm.
other times I've gone back down to that area. It really is like the roots kind of a lot of I guess, real African American culture
Yes,
at the
it
end of
is.
the day, because of that Gullah connection and the way they still keep it alive in that region. So
Yeah.
I'm glad there's that connection, that you identified it right away, associated it with Pan-Africanism, because actually a lot of people out here in the US have different connotations to Pan-Africanism.
hmm
But yours was totally aligned, obviously, with what we're doing with
hmm
the retreat, and obviously, yeah, very much in believing in that intercontinental
Yeah.
connectivity. Do you want to tell like our audience again, like where they can find your film? Did you catch that?
Yes, I heard you. Where they can find my film. Right now, it's
Yes,
still
your plans, where they can follow you, where they can reach you, or like social media pages and
yeah.
tags.
You can reach me at Shaunic Stanford on Instagram or the Best Time Film. That's on Instagram. The film is playing on Revolt TV. I don't know like when it airs, but on the app you can watch it. The app is free. It's actually supposed to air on Aspire TV as well. I don't know those dates yet. They're still like working on that. I don't have it like out on YouTube or anything yet, but I think I'm probably going to release it soon on YouTube. I'm also working on a pilot. Well, I'm not working on it. It's written, but going through rewrites again. I've had some producers read it to make this into a series because I feel like the short is not enough time, and this parenthood and the journey of the metamorphosis you go through as a mom is so grand, and it's this little short doesn't do it any justice. And I feel like you said, it's such a universal topic that this short was bigger than that, and so I didn't realize that at the time, and then I was like, I need to make this into a series. So I'm working on that now based off this short film. So those are kind of where you can find me, and I'll keep everyone updated.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, we love it. We love it. We love all of it. I do think there's so much more to tell there. And I love that, and I guess that's my big little kind of pet peeve out there. Start with the writing because it's easier to kind of build from there, right?
Mhm.
I know a lot of people kind of go out there and want to make their film kind of how you did. Um, but I'm gonna jump in here as a co-writer and just be like, that was the key, right? Shaunic. And just to spell it out for the audience, it's Shaunic, right?
Yes.
On all your tags for your social media.
Yeah, Shaunic.
Okay.
You'll find me.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right. Well, thanks again. Like
Thank
I said, I'm
you.
so glad we aligned. Good luck with
Yes,
everything. And thanks for coming on to the podcast,
absolutely.
sharing
Thank
your
you for
film.
having me.
All right.